Hello students, in the last session we were discussing about iteration in Python. In today's session we will continue our discussion of iteration. So let's start. Next type of loop, it is a for loop. We have seen a while loop. We have one more type of loop which can be used in Python, that is a for loop. For loop is used for iterating over a sequence. Now what is sequence here? Sequence simply means an object which contains multiple different elements. For example, you may say a string. A string is a sequence because it consists of multiple characters. For example, you may say an array in other programming languages which consists of multiple elements. In Python, we have different types of sequences. We have sequences like list, tuple, dictionary. So these are all sequences which stores multiple different values, and to iterate through all the values which have been stored in a sequence, we can use a for loop. Now with the for loop, we can execute a set of statements once for each item in a list, tuple or set. Now we can execute some set of statements inside the for loop for every element in the sequence. Some of the examples are given here. Just we will go through these examples. Now look at this example. First example, we have a variable here, fruits, or you can say an object fruits, is equals to, in array brackets, square brackets, we have the first value, that is apple, second is banana, and third is cherry. So this fruits is a list which consists of elements apple, banana, and cherry. It stores three elements, remember, three values it is having: apple, banana, and cherry. And if I ask you to print all these values, all the three values which are part of fruits, how will you print these values? You may want to use a loop, a for loop, to print these values, because you need to print all the values from the list of values. Like for you were printing values from an array. How you print values from an array? By using a loop. Same way to print values from a list, then you can use a for loop. The different type of for loop. Now here you can see the syntax of this particular for loop. We have for, then this is a variable. You can give variable name, any variable name. And then we have a keyword, that is in, and this is sequence. So the syntax is for, variable, in, sequence. So this is the syntax of for loop in Python. So example here, it is for x in fruits. So fruits, as I've said, it consists of three different values. So when for the first time this for loop is executed, x will be assigned a value from the fruits. The first value is assigned to the x. So initially x will have the value, that is apple, for the first time. And then inside the for, what we are doing is we are simply printing value of x. As I've told you, first time apple is assigned to x. So when we print x, it will print apple. You can see here the output is given. It will print apple. Now only one statement inside the for. Again it goes back to for, and when the second time this for loop is executed, the second value from the sequence is assigned, that is banana is assigned to x, and it will print banana. Third time it is executed, cherry is assigned to x, and it will print cherry. And the next time, again, as there are no values present or no elements present in the sequence, the loop ends at this point, and it will simply come out of the loop. So for every element the loop is executed once. For every element in the sequence, the loop is executed once. Okay, let's see one more example over here. We have for x in rows. Again, if you look at rows, this is not a variable. This is directly a literal or a value of type string. So rows is enclosed in double quotes, you can see. This is a string. So when for the first time the loop is executed, the first character from the list is from this string is assigned to x. So r is assigned to x and we are printing x, so it will print r. Second time the loop is executed, second character, that is o, is assigned to x and it will print o. Same way it will print s and e, and e is the last character. There are no other characters which we can assign to x, so loop ends there. So this is how this particular for loop can be used in Python to iterate through different elements in a sequence. Okay, there is one more important function which can be used in Python in for loop that we will study. Okay, before going through that particular function, let us again look at the statements break and continue with respect to for statement. Again, break and continue statement, the meaning remains same here. Break, to simply break the execution of a for loop or to end the execution of a for loop in between, and continue to continue with the next iteration. In a similar way, we can use both of these statements even in the for loop. Now let us look at these two examples. Again, the similar example, fruits, apple, banana and cherry. For x and fruits, apple is assigned for the first time. Then we are printing x, means it will print apple. Then we are checking if x is equals to banana. Now initially apple is assigned, so x is not equals to banana. And as it is not equals to banana, break is not executed. Directly it goes back to the for again. So next time x will become banana. Banana is assigned to x. Now it will print banana first because printing statement we have at the beginning. So it will print banana, then it will check if x is equals to banana. The second time x is equals to banana. So when it is equals to banana, break is executed. And once the break is executed, it will simply come out of this for loop and the output will be only apple and banana. It will not print cherry because we have executed a break statement. That will make it to come out of the for loop. Similar way, if you use a continue statement. So we have an example for x and fruits. Again, if x is equals to banana, continue. For the first time, apple. So apple is not equals to banana. So continue is not executed. Directly it will execute print x. So it will print apple. Second time, x will be banana and we are checking if x is equals to banana. This time the condition holds. It is true. It will execute continue statement, and as it is executing continue statement, it will go back to for again with the next iteration. It will not execute print, it will go back to for. So next value which is assigned to x, it is cherry. So it will again check if cherry is equals to banana. False, it will directly go to print x. So output of this particular example, it is apple and cherry. It will not print banana. So this is how you can use break and continue even with for loop. Okay, the next important thing, it is the function range. As I told you, we can use one more important function with the for loop in Python, and that function is range function. Now range function, it is used to loop through the set of code a specified number of times. We can loop through some set of code for a specified number of times by using the range function. The range function returns a sequence of numbers starting from 0 by default and increments by 1 by default. Again, those values can be changed. And it also specifies ends at the specified number. So the general syntax of this range is, I can say the syntax is range, okay, just consider this as range, and we have range function. We have three important parameters, I can say. The parameters are start. The start is by default, I said 0. Then we have the second parameter, that is end, and the last, that is increment, and so last is increment. So three parameters, start, end and increment. Start is by default, it is 0 when not specified, whereas when you do not specify an increment, by default the increment is 1, whereas end needs to be specified in range function. You cannot skip the end value. So one example is given here how range function can be used with a for loop. So look at this example here. So we have for x in range 6. As I've told you, range takes 3 parameters, but only one is passed. When only one is passed, we can consider that as end here. So for this particular range function, we have end as 6, whereas start and increment is not specified. So start and increments are considered as 0 and 1 by default. So how this particular loop executes? So as it is said, range will simply create a sequence from start to end. So start to end means from 0 to 6. Again, it is end minus 1. It is not only end, it is end minus 1. So it will create a sequence from 0 to 5. As the end is 6, that means end minus 1 will be 5. So it will create the sequence of numbers from 0 through 5. So it will be, numbers will be 0, 1, 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. It will create 3, 4 and 5. So for every iteration, one number from this is assigned to x. So first time 0 is assigned to x and we are printing x, so it will print 0. You can see it here. Second time 1 is assigned, 1 we are printing. Same way 2 is assigned, 3 is assigned, 4 and lastly 5 is assigned to x, and that will be printed by using print statement. Now the sequence, how the sequence is created is depend on increment. I said the increment is by default 1. So if I specify increment, say if I specify increment as 2 or 3, then the values in the sequence are incremented in by using the specified increments, remember. Okay, first let us look at one more example what we have here on the right side. So we have for x in range, that is 2, 6. Now if you look at this range function, it is having 2 parameters. Again, one more parameter is missing even in this range function. That parameter is the increment parameter. The first is start, the second is end. The increment is missing. In that case, increment is considered as 1 by default again. Now here, how the sequence is generated? Now start is specified, means sequence should start with 2 and it should end at 6 minus 1. So the sequence which is generated by this range function will be 2, increment is 1, so the values are incremented by 1. So after 2 we'll be having 3, then 4, and then we will be having value that is 5, that is 1 less than the end. So this is the sequence which is generated by the range function. Now in the for loop, the values to the x are assigned from this sequence. So first initially it will assign value 2 to x, and we are printing 2, so it is printing 2 here. Second value is assigned, that is 3 to x, so it will print 3, then 4, then 5. So like this it will assign the values to the variable x from a sequence, and those values can be printed. And this is how you can use a range function, important function in Python. Now if I ask you to print all the odd numbers from say 1 to 50 by using the range function, how will you print the odd numbers from 1 to 50 by using range function? Okay, let me help you with this. You may use a range function like this. You may say range I said it should print from 1 to 50. So I have given you start and end. The value should be from start from 1 to 50. So if I say 50, it will take values till 49, that is end minus 1 I said. So I'll take here, instead of 50, I'll take here 51. So that is 51 minus 1 will be 50, comma, again I am iterating through the values, or I am creating a sequence of values from 1 to 50 here, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. Or if I want to create a sequence of only odd numbers, instead of incrementing by 1 by default, that will create a sequence that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. I don't want a sequence of that kind. I want the odd number sequence, that is 1, 3, then 5, like this. So for that, what I can do is I can use the incrementation section, and I can say increment by 2. So if I use a range function like this, it will create a sequence that is starting at 1, then in that start value it will add the increment is 2, so 1 plus 2 will be 3. Again every time 2 is added, so that will be 3 plus 2 is 5. Next 5 plus 2 will be 7. Like this it will simply generates a sequence up till 50. Up till 50 it will generate the sequence. And by using a for loop, you can print these elements from a sequence, and this will print all the odd numbers from 1 to 50. Okay, I hope you understood this range function, important. And I want you to write a simple program here based on the for loop and range function. I want you to print all the even numbers from 1 to 50 by using a range function. Okay, next in the range function, as I have explained you about this part, the incrementation part, it is not like you have to increment always by 1. You can even increment by some other values. In the last example we have seen, we have incremented by 2. Even you can increment by 3. In this example it is given. So starting value is 2 and end is 30 and increment is 2. So it will start at 2, and then every time it will increment by 3. The next number is computed by adding 3 to the first number. So 2 plus 3 will be 5. Again 5 plus 3, 8. Like this till the value 30, it will create a sequence. Okay. One more important thing, even an else is used in a for loop, which is new in Python. Else cannot be used in a looping statement in other languages like C, C++, and Java, but else can be used in a looping statement in Python. Now, how else can be used? The else keyword in a for loop specifies block of code to be executed when the loop finishes. Means when your loop ends, at the end of your loop, the else part is executed. So if your loop is executing from values 1 to 10, and when it reaches the value 10, the loop finishes, and at that point it will execute the else part. One example is given here. Again, for x in range 6, again no start and end is no start and increment is specified, only end is specified, that is 6. So this range function will create sequence from 1 to 5, that is 1 2 3 4 5, and we are printing the same. First time it will print 1. Again, as this else part, how it is declared in the for loop, that we need to check. This else part is executed only when the loop ends. Initially x will have the value that is 1 and it will print 1, else part is not executed. It will print 2, 3, 4, 5, and when x reaches the value 6, at that time, when x reaches the value 5, that is the last value in the sequence, and that will be printed by the print statement. There are no other values present in the sequence. So your for loop ends. When the for loop ends, it goes to the else statement, and the statement present in the else part will be executed. Here we have only one statement, that is finally finished. So the output of this particular example is the values, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and lastly it will print a message that is finally finished. Okay, this is how we can use even else in the looping statement in Python. Okay, that's it for today's session. We have studied about iterations in Python. We have studied two important types of iteration statements, that is a while loop and a for loop statement. In the for loop, we have also studied about one function. The function is range function. Range function, it is used to create some sequence of values. Range function takes three parameters: the start, the end, and the increment. With this, we will stop here today. Thank you.